Under a starlit sky dense with nebulae and trade routes carved by empires, the throne world of Zelith pulsed with reverence and terror. She sat upon her throne of crystallized blackstone, ageless and lethal, Queen Erevel Sazine, Empress of 100 systems. Her voice alone could sever alliances or ignite revolt. When she spoke, galaxies listened. But this time, she waited. Her court whispered about the arrival of the primitive, the human diplomat from the distant, unremarkable blue planet that refused subjugation. He entered with neither armor nor entourage, only a plain dark suit marked by scorch lines and metals faded by time. He bowed with his eyes open. That alone unsettled them. His name was Commander Elias Wren, a former soldier, now emissary from Earth. He did not come to beg, they noted. He came to speak. You sit upon a throne of ash, crowned by silence, Elias said, tone calm, eyes sharp. How many voices did you silence to rule this quietly? The murmurs swelled like a tide, but Erevel only tilted her head. Your tongue walks boldly, human. Most tremble in my shadow. I've faced extinction, Elias replied. Your shadow is thinner than death. Curiosity sparked in her violet eyes. The royal advisors urged caution. They reminded her of Earth's irrelevance. Yet Erevel silenced them with a gesture. Her voice echoed without amplification. Why did your leaders send a man like you? Because I wasn't born to obey, Elias answered. I was born to question. You don't talk to an empire with flowers. She circled him slowly, the silence stretched tight. You've killed. Yes. Do you regret it? Every day. Good, she whispered then louder. But tell me, would you kill again? If it meant saving someone worth dying for? Yes. The room stilled. Erevel descended the stairs of her throne. The court gasped. This had never happened. She stepped close enough to inhale him, human, scarred, defiant. Her voice dropped. Your kind breeds paradox. You claim compassion, but build weapons. You dream of peace, yet march with clenched fists. We bleed for freedom, Elias said. That's not a contradiction. That's the price. An older noble rose. He mocks you, my queen. Let him be executed before he spreads doubt among the stars. Erevel didn't look away from Elias. You do not beg. You do not flatter. Tell me why. Because dignity isn't something I trade, even for survival. That answer, unshaking, trembled something ancient in her bones. She dismissed the court. Only her inner circle remained. She asked of Earth. Its wars. Its mistakes. Its hope. Elias told stories of trenches and treaties, of starvation and rebirth. We are not perfect, he said. But we are real. We hurt, we learn. And when we fall, we rise differently. Hours passed like heartbeats. At one point she asked, Do you think you're better than us? No, Elias replied. But I think we've made different mistakes. You think I rule wrongly? I think fear rules through you. Silence again. Heavy this time. Then she laughed. Not cruel. Not amused. But genuinely stirred. You fascinate me, Elias Wren. He didn't smile. I'm not here to entertain. Then what are you here for? He looked her in the eye. To make sure the galaxy sees us as equals, not prey. Erevel considered him long. Her mind parsed more than his words, his bearing, the absence of submission, the gravity in his voice. Her decision shattered the silence. This man, she declared to her court, who had returned in waves of tension, is my mate. Gasps erupted like storms colliding. 1,000 voices screamed protocol. 1,000 more whispered betrayal. Elias blinked. What did you just say? Erevel didn't repeat herself. She stepped toward him, the entire throne world watching through hologlyphic broadcasts. You want your kind seen as equal. You'll stand beside me. Not beneath me. That's not diplomacy. That's conquest in disguise. No, she said. It's choice. Say no and you leave. Say yes and change everything. I don't trust you. She nodded once. That's the first wise thing you've said. He tried to walk away. Guards stopped him. She raised a hand. Let him go. They hesitated, then obeyed. He paused at the threshold. If this is some galactic joke, I'm not laughing. No joke. No trick. Only truth. Then understand this, Elias said. We don't mate for power. We mate for soul. And then he left. The court whispered rebellions. Advisors demanded she retract. Nobles plotted bloodshed. But that night, in her private chamber, Aravel stared at the stars and whispered to herself, "He is unlike anything we've conquered." Meanwhile, aboard a small guest chamber, Elias recorded his first log. She declared me her mate. I don't know what game this is, but I've played worse. Earth didn't send me to bow. Earth sent me to shake their stars. In the darkness, two galaxies stirred toward collision, neither ready for the gravity of what had begun. Elias stood in a gilded chamber built for monarchs, surrounded by silence sharper than blades. The declaration echoed across the systems. The Queen of Zeleth had named a human her mate. Some believed it was a calculated move. Others believed it was madness. Elias believed it was a trap. The Queen's advisors wasted no time. They descended like vultures masked as diplomats. The grand strategist, adorned with neural augmentations, demanded an explanation. You bind yourself to a primitive. Explain or relinquish the throne. I bind myself to no one, Aravel replied. I made a choice. You will learn to respect it. Elias refused to be caged. You want a partner? Partners don't get locked behind ornamental doors. You're not a prisoner, she said. I don't see a handle on the inside. She ordered the guards to stand down. Elias walked the palace halls unescorted. Eyes followed him like targeting sensors. He felt the weight of 100 cultures expecting failure. He didn't speak unless necessary. He listened, watched, waited. Days passed. The court remained in disarray. Aravel continued governing while deflecting assassination attempts, diplomatic ultimatums, and the slow crumbling of ancient alliances. One envoy from the Syndicate of Vex offered her unity in exchange for Elias' removal. She refused. The envoy replied, "Empires fall not from invasion, but from infatuation." That night, a dart missed Elias by inches as he crossed the atrium. He ducked behind an obsidian column, tackled a cloaked attacker, and broke their arm before the guards arrived. "One of yours?" he asked the captain. The captain hesitated. "One of ours who forgot the consequences of disobedience." Later, Aravel visited him as he cleaned blood from his knuckles. "You handled it. I've handled worse. You could have killed him." "I could have. I didn't." "You think that earns you virtue?" "No. Just control." She stared for too long, then turned away. "Why won't you run?" "Because if I do, you lose everything." "Arrogant." "True." The Queen asked for his presence at a strategic summit. Elias declined. She demanded. He appeared. When she proposed peaceful integration of minor sectors, her admirals protested. Elias cut in. "You conquer with blades. Try winning with food. Try medicine. Hope." They laughed. She didn't. Elias mapped out Earth's post-war recoveries, infrastructure successes, and cultural diplomacy. He showed simulations. He suggested aid drops over orbital blockade. The Queen listened. 3 sectors voted to trial the idea. The court murmured of blasphemy. Elias spent his nights examining the cracks in her empire. Not military weakness, those were expected, but moral exhaustion. The people feared her. They obeyed her. But they no longer believed. He told her as much. They'll follow you into war. But never into peace. Peace is weakness. No. Peace is proof of strength. She said nothing, but for the first time, she didn't argue. One day, he found a hidden archive. Sealed under layers of alien security, it revealed footage of the Queen's youth, before the crown, before the wars. She once spoke of unification through understanding, of art, of culture. He confronted her. What happened to her? She died the day my sister bled out in my arms. The day mercy failed. Maybe she didn't die. Maybe you buried her. You think to unearth her? I think she's clawing her way out. The court grew more divided. Rumors of coups ignited. The warlord of Drexel declared the queen compromised and announced a new alliance against her. Her generals advised preemptive strike. Elias warned otherwise. Strike now and you prove them right. Let them come. Let them show the galaxy who they really are. That's a dangerous bet. I've made worse. He was given access to the defense grid. He noticed redundancies, exploitable flaws. He repaired them quietly. One night, as storms brewed over the Capitol spire, he found the queen alone. No guards, no advisors. Why me? He asked. Because you scare me. That's not love. No. But it's a start. They stood without words. Neither reached for the other. Neither looked away. The next day, an emissary from Drexel landed under pretense of diplomacy. He brought poison laced in ceremony. Elias spotted the twitch in the servant's hand, the unnatural cadence in his speech. He intercepted the drink, shattered it to the floor, and placed a hidden blade at the emissary's throat before the guards reacted. The queen said nothing. The room fell still. Elias lowered the blade and walked away. She later found him alone. You risked death. I've risked worse. You defy me. You shame my court. You question everything I am. I question everything you forgot to be. She laughed without joy. And still you stay. I stay, he said, because someone has to remind you that thrones mean nothing if no one wants to follow. She dismissed her council the next morning. Issued a decree for systemic reforms. Announced plans to halt expansionist wars and focus on internal renewal. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Drexel moved its fleet. Erevel summoned her own. Before the inevitable collision, Elias met her privately. You're changing the rules, he said. That makes you vulnerable. Then stand with me. Only if you stand beside me. I already do. As warships aligned across the stars, the Queen gave her fleet one order. Hold. Drexel launched first. The flagship's engines overloaded and shut down mid-assault. Elias Virus had triggered a systems pause, buying precious hours. The Queen opened a channel. I offer no surrender. But I offer a future. Choose blood or choose breath. Drexel hesitated, then backed down. The Queen stood before her people and said, Change begins with risk. I risked everything on a human, and I do not regret it. The court split in half. Half bowed, half fled. Elias found her alone afterward. You still haven't asked if I accept. I don't ask what I already feel. That's dangerous. She smirked. So are you. They didn't touch. They didn't promise. But something old and powerful settled between them. Not trust. Not yet. But something that might one day become it. He recorded a message to Earth. She's not what they feared. But she's not safe. She's something else. And I'm staying to find out what that means. The Queen sent no message. But across the stars, monarchs began to ask if perhaps humans were not so primitive after all. And within the palace, a human and a queen walked the same hallways, not as ruler and subject, not as captor and envoy, but as two tectonic forces slowly, inexorably pulled into orbit. Across 100 systems, the proclamation rippled. The Queen had halted expansion, denied the warlord of Drexel's challenge, and invoked reform. The galaxy buzzed with confusion. Some called it weakness, others whispered of rebirth. But power never yields quietly. In shadows, revolt formed teeth. The Drexel fleet did not retreat far. Within days, they struck a border world, then another. Minor nobles aligned with the warlord, citing purity of tradition. Internal sabotage followed. Food transports vanished. Power grids failed. The Queen's reforms were met with calculated resistance. Elias worked without pause. He mapped unrest patterns, identified internal leaks, rewrote code systems meant to isolate rebellion. He confronted generals and bypassed security to deliver tactical blueprints directly to the Queen. She didn't object. "You're not a subject," she said. "You're an irritant with results." "Then irritant I'll remain." Her council began fracturing. One advisor demanded she denounce Elias publicly to restore trust. She responded by promoting him to military liaison. The advisor vanished that night. They moved to the fortified core. Communication blackouts spread. Ereval's most loyal allies warned. The capital would be hit next. Elias set to work, rerouting defensive measures, anticipating Drexel tactics. He'd seen similar moves in Earth's own past. Slow erosion before a sudden collapse. "You realize this ends in blood," she said. "It always does. The question is who bleeds first." 2 nights later, capital sirens wailed. The attack came not from orbit but within. The warlord's agents had seeded rebellion in the lower tiers of the city. Riots surged upward. Explosions gutted supply corridors. Civilian shields failed. Elias led a ground team through smoke and shrapnel. He overrode plasma gates, coordinated with synthetic security swarms, and reprogrammed assault drones to switch target. One drone hesitated. He kicked it off a bridge before it decided. Ereval joined the defense. Not in royal attire, but armored in obsidian weave. She moved like a predator, cutting down insurgents with controlled fury. Side by side they fought. One enemy squad cornered them in the central chamber. Elias used a signal disruptor to blind their sensors, tackled one, fired twice, then slid a weapon to the Queen. She caught it and fired without hesitation. Afterward, bloodied and winded, she said, "I should have never made you liaison." He replied, "I didn't apply." They retook the chamber. Hours passed before the last rebellion node fell. Elias returned to the command center. Reports streamed in. Systems stabilizing, rebellion crushed. Drexel's flagship held position but didn't move. It waited. Elias stood with her at the edge of the strategy dome. "You know this doesn't end with suppression," he said. "I know. They won't stop until one of you is dead." "They're right. Then let's choose how they die." She summoned the high nobles and system governors. Most refused to attend. Those who did came armed. The Queen did not speak in riddles. "Drexel wants my throne. He will have my response. Not in whispers, not in treaties, but in clarity. If I fall, you follow him. If I win, you follow me. No factions. No more." They did not respond. Elias stood before them. "I came here as a diplomat. But I've watched, listened, fought. You don't need a tyrant. You don't need another bloodline clinging to fading symbols. You need someone who sees the future as more than what's inherited." A governor laughed. "And you think that's her?" "No," Elias said. "I think that could be all of us, if we survive her enemies." They left divided. Drexel issued a final demand. Abdicate, surrender Elias, reinstate expansion, or face destruction. The Queen turned to Elias. "If I surrender, you live. If I fight, you stay." "I stay." "No promises." "Good. I don't trust them." They prepared. The final battle came swift. Drexel's fleet breached the outer defense ring. Elias activated drone flocks, retuned their formation patterns. He implemented neural loop jamming, forced enemy targeting systems into recursive error states. The Queen deployed new kinetic weapons, old tech brutally effective. Cities shook. Space tore open. Drexel himself landed on the capital, leading a ground incursion. He sent a message: "The primitive dies first." Elias answered it: "Come get me." They met not on a throne, but a battlefield carved from fire. Elias fought with a pulse blade, danced between strikes, leveraged every piece of training Earth had buried in him. Drexel was a brute twice his size, augmented. But rage has patterns. Elias read them, used them. The final strike came not from Elias. It came from Ereval. a blade to Drexel's spine. Why? Drexel gasped. She said, because I remembered who I was. Drexel fell. After the war, silence. Then movement. Survivors rallied. Nobles knelt. The Queen did not gloat. Instead, she addressed the systems. I loved power more than peace. Then I met someone who chose dignity over survival. He didn't change me. He reminded me. From this day, we do not conquer. We build. We do not rule. We lead. We are not an empire. We are a future. She turned to Elias. You still haven't said yes. I'm not here to say yes. Then why are you still here? Because something's changing. And I want to see it through. She offered her hand. No crown. No ceremony. Just a hand. He took it. Later, he recorded his final transmission to Earth. The queen who ruled by fear is gone. The woman who remains is something else. This isn't love. Not yet. But it might be. What matters is that they're listening now. Not because we shouted louder, but because we stood. The file ended. 1,000 light-years away, a human diplomat and a once feared queen stood together on a balcony, not as symbols but as catalysts. No promises made. No certainties. Just the beginning of something neither empire nor earth could name. But whatever it was, it would shape stars. And it started with no bow, no surrender, only a choice.